Good evening. An 18-year-old Birmingham man has been found guilty of murder after he stabbed a young rapper outside a charity fundraising event last September.
Armani Mitchell from Northfield knifed Joshua Ribera in the heart after the pair argued over a girl they'd both dated. From Birmingham Crown Court, Andy Bevan has our top story.
Justice for a mother whose only son was taken from her at the age of 18. Aspiring Birmingham grime rapper Joshua Ribera, known as Depzman, was stabbed to death during a charity party at TC's nightclub in Selly Oak last September. His killer was Armani Mitchell, who had the street nickname Mini Switch. Mitchell became angry with Ribera after seeing him laughing and joking at the party with a girl with whom he, Mitchell, had had a baby. Joshua's mother has been here for every day of this 3-week trial. After today's verdict, she maintained her composure.
There's no justice for Joshua because he was too special and too amazing. He could have had 100 years in prison and it still wouldn't be justice, but there's justice served for killing another person.
CCTV from inside TC's, which was played during the trial, showed Mitchell noticing the girl with Joshua Ribera in a corridor. He turns and goes after them, and off-camera, the two men push and shove each other. Images from a camera on the outside of the club show Ribera walking into the car park, followed by Mitchell and a mutual friend who has his arm around Mitchell's shoulder. Seconds later, in the distance, a fight erupts. Mitchell produces a flick knife and stabs Ribera once in the chest. Joshua staggered back towards the club, holding his T-shirt, which he'd taken off, over the wound to try to stop the flow of blood. But the knife had pierced his heart. He made it to the doorway and then collapsed. He died 7 hours later in hospital. During the trial, the judge, the lawyers and the jury spent an hour visiting the inside of TC's. The jury were also shown the spot across the road where Joshua was attacked and places where a trail of blood was found. Today, the jury chose to ignore Armani Mitchell's story that he admittedly stabbed Ribera but did so in self-defence. They convicted him of murder. Sentencing Mitchell, Judge William Davis QC told him that although what he'd done was under some degree of provocation, it was cripplingly dangerous to carry knives. He sentenced him to 18 years in prison. Andy Bevan, ITV News.
Well, the world that Joshua Ribera lived in and the rap music he performed is often associated with gangs, drugs and weapons, leading many to misunderstand the young people who actually produce it.
Andy Bevan was given unique access to the grime music scene and to Joshua's family and friends. They reveal a story of a young man on the brink of success who hated that kind of violence that ironically would cut short his life. Joshua Ribera was a happy, cheeky young boy, sometimes a bit of a handful for his single mother to manage, but by his early teens, it seemed his path in life was starting to emerge.
No role models in my life because they're locked up, too real for the streets that they got them boxed up.
He always had charisma and he was always, you could tell there was something special about him, but we didn't know exactly what that was till he became involved in his music, and then it became apparent quite quickly that he had talent.
Go ask my bros, they know me well. When it comes to the road, I hold it down.
Joshua joined the Birmingham grime squad Invasion Alert, performing under the name Depzman. They featured regularly on Silk City Radio, an internet station specialising in niche genres of youth music.
They're such a lovely bunch of guys that I wasn't worried, I wasn't concerned. It was a case of they're all positive people and he's involved in a positive situation, so I was just proud about that.
Invasion Alert's 2-hour slot at midnight on Sundays still attracts listeners from around the world, but the death of Depzman, their rising star, has been a huge and painful loss to the rest of the crew.
He was the youngest one out of all of us, but we didn't take that into consideration. You didn't see him as a younger one, younger to all of us. He was like we saw him on the same wavelength as us.
Guarantee that Deps was always late. He was always in Nando's every time you phoned him. You know, he was a playful geezer.
Everyone's got a picture with Josh. People, bang, picture with Deps, because anyone that would, oh, Deps, can you take a picture of me? Throw his arm around them. He was a real good role model.
When I found out proper, like, you just didn't know what to do. You just felt numb. Because he was so young, you get what I mean? So it was a big shock.
Now my name's out there, fam, my only plan is to stack them grands.
By last summer, a depzman solo album called Too Real was climbing the iTunes and CD charts. And in the second week of September, Joshua got his first royalty payment of £1,400. He used part of it to buy his mother this watch. But not everyone was celebrating Joshua Ribera's success. Armani Mitchell, who knew him through mutual friends, bore a grudge, according to Alison Cope, against her son's popularity.
He viewed my son as a threat in music, personality, looks, and his only choice was to pick up a knife and kill him, because he knew he couldn't hurt him in any other way. He could never compete with him on any other level. So the only way was going to put a knife straight into his heart.
On the night of September the 20th last year, both men were at a charity fundraising event at TC's nightclub in Birmingham's Selly Oak district. It was to raise money to buy a headstone for the grave of 16-year-old rapper Kyle Sheehan, a friend of Joshua. He'd been stabbed in the leg exactly a year before and had died in hospital a week later. During the evening, Mitchell and Ribera argued and scuffled inside TC's. Mitchell was eventually thrown out, but came back just after 10:30. He called Joshua out into the street, and close to this point here, he stabbed him once through the heart. Joshua was taken by ambulance to the nearby Queen Elizabeth Hospital as word of his injuries spread quickly over social media.
I've gone straight to the QE, and yeah, I was there with Jay, and we was there till the morning until we got the news, which you can imagine it was devastating.
I knew he'd died before they told me. I told everybody he'd passed away. I just knew. That's how close we were. And then probably about 20 minutes later, the consultant came to me, and I didn't hold a conversation with any of them. I just said, I know that you did everything you could have done for him, and I know he's died, but can we just leave it at that? And then I walked away.
The next morning, as dozens of depzman fans laid flowers where he'd been attacked, Armani Mitchell walked into a police station in Dudley. He was charged with Joshua's murder.
Squeeze up a bit, there are still lots of people.
3 weeks later, hundreds gathered for depzman's funeral at St Martin's in the Bullring, as questions were asked in the media about the violent and gangster-like nature of the lyrics used by some grime rappers. Invasion Alert, though, insist that's not what they are about.
The genre of music that we do can get connected to negativity and stuff, but that's not what we promote. If you listen to the music that we make, we don't promote stuff like that. Like, we talk about real life experiences. So did Josh.
Today's verdict means Armani Mitchell will spend many years behind bars, no doubt reflecting on his moment of madness. Joshua Ribera will live on through his music and videos. Even his Twitter account remains open. His last message reveals him getting ready for the party. It was posted at 5:11 p.m. on September the 20th, 2013, the night that would be his last.
He'll always go down as a young great because he's done so much in his short space of time, so I think he'll live on forever.
I just feel he was one of them kids. He could have been anything. He could have did anything he wanted. He was good at everything. You know what I mean? He was just really a lovely boy.
It sounds really silly, but we were perfect for each other. You know, I knew how to be the best mum I could in the world for him, and he was the best son for me. So to think that that is over is very, very, very difficult, because I feel that my purpose, I don't have a purpose anymore because I don't have him. When I think of him, I just think how much we loved each other, and that will obviously stay with me forever.
That was the mother of Joshua Ribera. In other news, a woman has denied murder.